Now,
Welcome to week 2 of Two Brothers Sports. I'm Bradley out in Louisiana with my brother Jeff out on the left coast. How you doing, Jeff?
doing good, Brad. It's good to have you on, man. Yeah, that first week was pretty excited. We had our 5 picks. Um, we hit them all except for Miami was -3.5, and I think you could have opened it up at 3, but they got kind of a late start. They were down 14-0 with the Jaguars, so that put us a little bit behind, but not too bad for a first week. There was a lot of interesting things that happened. I think I have a better handle on the picks this week, so we'll enter into this week in our 5 picks, and we're going to start out with the 49ers versus the Minnesota Vikings. We're really liking the -5. Right, Brad? What do you think about the first
Yeah,
week?
well,
Niner.
the 49ers, they looked awesome last week. Their defense, we know what their defense is all about. We know what their whole team from top to bottom. The Vikings played the worst team in the league.
Yeah. And they're ranked third in defense. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold really is a question mark in our mind. My brother likes him a little more than I do, but I think to me, he's a question mark still. He has a couple weapons over there, but nothing that I think can contain the Niners. They played the Giants, which is, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Giant fans, but the Giants don't have the best team they ever
They're
had before.
trash.
They might be one of, I was trying to be
You
nice, but
betcha.
they're probably not going to be the best team in the league. They're sitting at 27 defense, and so I think anybody could have looked good against them. And certainly, it wasn't a team like the Niners. I think the Niners are going to go there and smoke those fools. And
Well, of
I
course,
really,
they're one of the worst teams in the league. We know this. And I'm also getting tired of hearing about Brock Purdy being a game manager.
yeah,
Brock Purdy is a man, and he
yeah.
deserves more respect.
Well, he'll get it this year. He don't really need anyone, and he will. And his weapons too. He's got Ayuk. He's got Debo Samuel. He's got Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy. But they're not even going to be able to, have to put him in because they got Jordan Mason who ran 147 yards this year,
Yeah,
and
are you kidding me?
looking,
Jordan Mason, man. The
yeah,
guy's an undrafted guy. He's been on the practice squad. Then he friggin' ends up just playing minimal amount.
right,
Second string Elijah Mitchell goes down for the
yeah,
season.
yeah.
And this kid, he did it against a really good defense as well, Jeff, for
It,
sure.
yeah, and if he wasn't able to perform like that, they probably would have had McCaffrey going in this week. So that's good for future picks on the Niners. They're probably going to be solid all the way into the playoffs. We're pretty sure that that's going to be happening. But how deep they'll go, probably pretty deep in the playoffs as well. Minnesota, they'll be lucky to make it. So, but not impossible. There's a
Well,
lot of good teams out there.
what do you think about the game number 2 on our list, the Seattle and the Patriots?
Yeah, well, I think that Geno Smith, the way that he played against Denver, I think Denver's a very similar type of defense, even though they're ranked differently than the New England Patriots. I think that they have a similar type of defense, and I think that Denver got lucky being able to basically on punts pin the Seattle within the 10-yard line and got a couple safeties, which is really almost a third safety, and that's how they scored. It wasn't really through their offense. If it had been up to Bo Nix, really he floated like 3 passes that should have been interceptions. He's just lucky that he doesn't have 3 or 4 picks in that game. So I just don't see how with the Seahawks running like they're, especially with DK Metcalf and Lockett, and even their running back Kenneth Walker the third. Even though my brother was telling me he has an injury. We're going to talk a little bit about that guy and the potential that he has as a running back. But for sure, I think he's gonna have no problem running over that defense, even with a sore oblique injury that he has. What do you think, Brad?
Game 3, Denver
Hey,
versus the Steelers.
oh, okay. So we're going Pittsburgh. Yeah, I like Pittsburgh. We like Pittsburgh -2.5. Some people got it at 3, but it's been shifting quite a bit, and that has a lot to do again with those defenses looking kind of similar. That defense went up against Cousins and company. They weren't even favored. They were +3. They still won by 8. It was 18-10, and they probably could have won by 11 if it hadn't been for a couple coaching decisions that Mike
And
Tomlin
let's
doesn't
and
usually make.
And let's face it, Jeffrey, they are starting frigging Fields again. He's gonna get better. We know the guy can play. He
Yeah,
showed signs on a really lousy Bear team. He's gonna get better. This will be his second week. He knows he's starting. And yeah, like you said, the defense, TJ Watt. Need I say more? And there's a lot of other
right.
guys on the team, but
Right. And really, I like the way I mean, I'll just keep going back to Najee Harris just because of his side and his ability to run against defenses that people usually can't run against. And I think that's going to be the case, but we'll see. But we like the pick. We're taking it -2.5. We'll see next week because that's the great thing about these predictions is that we can all observe the NFL season, see what we come up with, and see what we're looking like by the end of the year. Got
you betcha.
16 more weeks to go. So on that note, one of my brother's favorite games, and I think he'd probably have quite a bit to say, is Kansas City versus Cincinnati Bengals. Should be a good one. It's one of our favorites. They're sweet.
The Bengals offensive line is horrible. The running game is a question mark. Joe Burrow, I don't even know if his wrist is. I mean, and then the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean,
Right.
these guys are stacked from top to bottom.
Right. And it also looks like T. Higgins might not even be a go. So that makes him kind of one dimensional. And Chase really didn't have the greatest game. And all of those guys can connect. There's something not quite right about him. And the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs are no slouch. And their defense is ranked 5 in the league. And so if they go one dimensional, they should be able to contain him to a certain degree. You know, like where
Is that
100.
-5 or -6 on that game, Jeff?
It's -6 with the Chiefs. And then Zach Moss, you know, he had a pretty good productivity for only having I think he had 14 starts over at the Colts. Oh no, he had 8 starts at the Colts. And he had a pretty good year between running and receiving, but the Colts offense was so much more uh they were just a lot better than what he's having to deal with in Cincinnati. So to me, that's somewhat of a question mark in terms of a matchup. And I don't see Pacheco having a problem running against them either because he's another power back. So, and I like their defense. And they got Hollywood. Didn't you say Hollywood? Hollywood Brown's coming back this week too. And then we got Rashee Rice and Juju. Hey, I'm a big Juju Smith Schuster because you know he's who he is. And behind Mahomes, I think you're going to see a lot more productivity out of him this year, without any doubt. I'm looking forward to seeing.
Don't forget that rookie who had fucking three. Oh man, had
Yeah,
three touchdowns.
right. Yeah, so we're liking that game. We won't go too much more into the stats or anything else.
Xavier Worthy.
A lot of this is based on what we saw last week too, from observing it. So keep that in mind. That being said, we got the big Monday night game, but it's not going to be that big. The reason it's big is because it's on Monday night alone. But the Eagles, to me, they're probably the best team next to the 49ers this year. I mean, they're just stacked. And we're talking about the Falcons, who we saw what happened against them with the Pittsburgh. And even though they were +3, they beat them by 8 and could have beat them by 11. You didn't get much offense or production out there. Although the Eagles are sitting at 21 or 18, and they were 20 last year, defense ranked. And so the Falcons should be able to move the ball a little bit better than they did in Pittsburgh. So really, as a side thing, although we've taken them -6 to 6.5, I like the 47.5 over on that one on a Monday night game. I really do. And that's just a side, you know, that's not our 5 picks. It's just
in this game, the Eagles might score that by themselves, Jeffrey. I mean, you got to look at Saquon Barkley, what night they had. Let's keep in mind they were playing in Brazil on a soccer team. The announcers had mentioned during the broadcast it was called Cleat Gate because they were having to change their cleats, not 2, not 3, but sometimes 4 times till all players, every position. It was crazy at the beginning of that game.
And not to mention, even with that happening, almost 60 points were scored between Green Bay and them. So I mean that's on a good field at home on a Monday night with Jalen Hurts. I think that's pretty much a no-brainer against the Falcons. And I think, and I'm not disrespecting the Falcons. Like I said in week 1, I think they still have the ability to maybe pull out after 4 or 5 games with Cousins, but it's still undecided. He's not looking that good on that ankle that he hurt and hadn't played since last November. So that's one of the asterisks we have for that team until maybe, we might reconsider what's going on. Fourth.
Well, and the other point is absolutely, you betcha. And the other point is also, I was listening to Chris Sims talk about the mechanics and what he noticed, which led me to believe and led him to believe that he's still favoring, whether it's psychological or whatever he claimed. But it's a good point that he brought up that Cousins still doesn't look like he wants to put any weight on that. He wasn't under center for one snap in that ball game.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so, I noticed that too. Yeah, for sure. And we didn't even talk about your favorite thing about that team, the Eagles, but I would like you to mention it. Running back. That's your boy.
Saquon?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I mean, the guy had 3 touchdowns, and if you look at where he came from in the backfield to make that catch in the end zone in the corner with everybody, how he even got there shows that he hasn't lost a step. He was just with a sorry-ass team, and he's happy. So he's going to be dangerous all year long.
Yeah, and he still had 962 yards rushing and 280 yards receiving last year. So even though he was on a team like that, it was, and the year before that in 22, he had 1,312 at 4.4 and 338 yards receiving. And that's not on a
garbage team.
And that's on a garbage team without Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown might be, to me, I mean, I know it's hard to rank the top 5 at that point. There's a lot of good receivers, but A.J. Brown is
Goddard, Devontae Smith. They're loaded, man. And
they're loaded. Even Gainwell, I just want to throw that mention out because although he has to share it with Saquon, he's still a super capable back. Most teams don't have that kind of depth at the running back position.
And again, if you didn't catch our first podcast, I do want to mention that this is only our second week of putting content out to share with the world. But my brother's been handicapping ball games, NFL ball games, since 2006. He's pretty good at it, folks. So before we leave and to close out, I want my brother to go and talk about every 5 games. Just list them again in the point spreads to close the show out, Jeff.
You mean this week's predictions? So yeah, we have
absolutely.
We like the Niners. I think we like the Niners -5. Yeah, so that's it. My Niners -5 against the Minnesota Vikings. We're looking at we like the Seahawks -2.5 against New England. We like the Steelers -2.5 against the Broncos, and we're liking -6 with Russell Wilson and company against Cincinnati. And last but not least, we do like the one that we just went over, and that's the -6 or 6.5, depending on what lines you're looking at. It's just fun. It's something we do. I like to analyze and predict the football and just in general. I just like points. I think it makes it exciting to see if you can hit them or not. And so looking forward to the week moving forward. It's a lot of really great action the first week. It was really exciting. We watched it together on Red Zone. He's in Louisiana, of course, and like you said, I'm on the left coast over here.
Speaking of Louisiana, Jeffrey, the hurricane kind of screwed us up. Our first 2 weeks, we're getting this stuff out on Friday. Last week, it was Saturday, which leaves no time for anybody to digest what we're throwing out there for the betting fan. And there's a lot of them out there. So,
yeah, it's just a fun thing that I like to do for fun. I like to go down and see what the point spreads are because I've been following football since I was 5 years old. I really love the NFL, everything about it. Except maybe, well, never mind. We'll talk about that on another week. Politics. So anyway, Brad, it's good that I'm glad you were able to come on tonight. I'm glad we were able to give our predictions for the following week, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Brother Sports. We'll have 5 more picks next week.
You guys all take care of. Take care. Comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Anything. Really appreciate connecting with y'all. Have a good one. Enjoy the games.